It's TKO, episode 11, I think. Coming to you live from the eye of the storm. If the acoustics sound different to the other episodes, I'm actually recording this in my storm shelter. Central Alabama has the most severe tornado warning for tonight, this afternoon and tonight. So, we're gonna get some violent tornadoes, apparently. And, they're gonna be, they have like a long, I forget what the word is, but it's like a long track warning or something, which means that they're gonna be like on the ground for a long period of time. They're gonna be violent. But, I think we'll be alright. But we have a storm shelter. Our walk-in pantry was built as a storm shelter, so it's like the walls and ceiling and floor are like several feet of concrete. And there's this big ass metal door. I don't know what the fuck to call it, but it's designed to handle this kind of stuff. So the twin bed that's usually in my front room that I usually sit on when I record this podcast is now in the storm shelter in case we have to come in here tonight. So I was like, oh man, I was gonna rip a pod. But the bed I sit on to rip the pod is in the storm shelter, and I was like, dude, it looks like we're going live from the storm shelter. It's the first ever pod in the storm shelter. I think the tornadoes are the warning isn't gonna happen for a couple more hours. So it's gonna rain. It's already started raining some. The winds are really high already. But the serious warning time is in a few hours. So this is a pre-NATO pod. It's before the NATO's touchdown. But dude, I'm not scared. I'm in here with a storm shelter with my little black cat, BB. She's chilling in here, recording the pod with me. Just went to dinner with my parents. Got me a nice 8-ounce filet, mashed potatoes, asparagus. No, I had to give me that asparagus. My pee gonna smell like shit later. It was a good meal. It's good to see them. Worked out pretty fucking hard today. Between all the warm-up, workout, and recovery, and just stuff I was doing, I basically was doing something active or recovery for like 5 or 6 hours today. I started at like 10. At 10 a.m., I started like stretching for a little while. Just getting loose, full body stretch. And then I went in the backyard and shadow boxed for a little bit. And I went in the garage, jumped rope for a little bit. So I was totally warmed up. Then we hit the bag hard for a while. Maybe like 30 minutes or something, I don't know. And then we went back to the backyard, shadow boxed some more as like a cool down. Then we went back to the garage, sauna, 20 minutes. Maybe the hottest it's ever been. The last 5 minutes of that were torture. I felt like I needed to get out at 15, but we made a dangerous push to 20. And then I went and got in the ice bath with like 50 pounds of ice. And that was insanely cold. Did 20 minutes in that. So I went from insanely hot to insanely cold. And then I chilled for like an hour or so, let my body naturally warm up. And then I went back to the tub for an Epsom salt bath. And then you add all that stuff up, and I was doing shit for like 6 hours today. But I didn't really work out a lot this week, so it felt good to get some exercise going, because I was just really busy at work this week with the audit and shit. So today I just fucking went hard. I feel like a new me. Although I didn't work out this week, I fasted like 4 nights in a row. I fasted Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night. I did like 18 hour. I did 3 20-hour fasts, and one was like 18 hours. I kind of cut it. It was like 18 or 19 hours. I cut it a little bit short. Just drank a Celsius, which I guess broke the fast. I mean, it was like 45 calories. And I went and worked out or did something. I didn't really work out. All I did this week was like I did a little bit of abs, a little bit of shadow boxing, and a little bit of yoga. And I don't really count those as like hard ass workouts. Those are just like maintenance workouts. But today we did some hard ass workouts. It was fun. I enjoyed it. The weather was all right earlier today, but it's gonna get nasty as hell here in a little bit. But yeah, I think fasting is good. You know, like you get like a mental clarity when your body's like not processing food. It's like your stomach is given a chance to catch up, your liver is getting a chance to rest. You just feel like clean and clear. Your body's not like working to digest food. But I don't think I can keep doing this like a crazy amount. Like I think fasting is better done casually and not on like rare occasion. I don't I don't think it's gonna help your performance in some things. I think it's good for like longevity, but if you're trying to get like if you're trying to go hard in your workouts and training, it's not ideal. You need to be fueled for that. You can't be running on empty. Um, but it is good to give your body a rest every now and then. I remember Huberman. I listened to Huberman talk about some of it. The He's talking about studies of fasting and how good it is for you, and he talked about this study in mice. And what's funny is like mice doing science studies on mice, lab studies on mice. Usually, in almost everything, has like a really good correlation with what it would do to humans. There's a lot of correlation between mice and humans, I guess. So they're good to use as like samples or test subjects, except for when it comes to blood glucose and fasting and like readings of mortality. I thought that was pretty interesting. I forget there was some more there. He explained some more stuff about that and how the study wasn't perfect. And then I kind of got sidetracked by thinking about how hungry those damn mice were. They were just like, "What the fuck, dude? Where's my food?" The mice just don't understand. They're part of a scientific study where they're not allowed to eat food. They're just like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because I'm very healthy and I do take really good care of myself. But if I have one main problem when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's I crush food. Uh, it's definitely not my definitely my worst health habit. And like it's not always like I eat kind of healthy. I don't eat terrible. Sometimes I'll get off the rails with the snacking on stuff. But even if you eat healthy, it's just a sheer volume thing sometimes. Like recently I ordered $100 worth of dinner. I ordered a elk chops. I got two different entrees. I got elk chops with mushroom risotto and asparagus. And then my other meal was an 8-ounce filet, mashed potatoes, and broccolini. And I ate both of those. They were both like one was like 60 something bucks and one was like 40 something bucks. So I spent $100 on dinner one night. And then I fucking got home, ate a couple perfect bars that are like 300 calories a piece. And I ate like 4 granola bars that were like 200 calories. Like I ate like 3,000 to 4,000 calories that night. And then like had a hard time sleeping the first couple hours because like my body was trying to work through all that food I ate. I was like, yeah, that was kind of a bad idea. But I worked out really hard that day, and I had a really hard lift, so I think the elk chops and the steak were a good idea. But then all the stuff afterwards, the granola bars and stuff, that was overkill. But yeah, I crush food. I don't spend that kind of money on dinner. Like, I almost never do. But that day I was really hungry and just splurged. Um, if you want some good financial tips from your boy, CFO, Chief Financial Officer Scott Walker, my easy tip for personal financial health is to scan your credit card activity. Because I just have one main credit card. That's like I only have one credit card actually, and that's kind of like what I just pay with everything, and then I just pay it down out of my bank account. And most banks have this, but if you go on your online login, download your most recent activity, preferably at least 3 months, so like 90 days. Download it into Excel, and then format all the cells as a table, and then sort the description A to Z. So now that you have 90 days worth of your credit card activity sorted alphabetically. So it's like, trying to think of, if you go to AutoZone, like you'll have the first couple lines will just be all AutoZone. So when you sort it A to Z, all your charges are grouped together alphabetically. And then you can scroll through that and see in the last 3 months, this is a big thing with reoccurring charges, because this is how I found out I was paying for 2 months. I was paying for 2 separate HBO subscriptions, because I set one up under both of my emails and didn't fucking realize it for a few months. I was like, God damn it, I've been paying for 2 separate HBO subscriptions. Because when I sorted it A to Z, there was 6 HBOs. There was 2 for all 3 months. And I was like, damn it, I'm getting charged twice a month for HBO. So that's a good way to see if you have reoccurring charges, or if you're just eating it somewhere too much. Like if you're spending like mad money at Wendy's, you're like, dude, I need to stop going to Wendy's. I don't eat at Wendy's, but I'm just trying to use that as an example. Like, God damn, I'm spending hundreds of dollars at Hooters. I need to relax on going to Hooters. But Stacy really likes me, honestly. I'm not just like any other customer. You know? I'm a big baller at my local Hooters. Stacy thinks I'm the man. No. Keep going to Hooters. That's important. You have to support your local businesses. But yeah, I listened to some Huberman Lab stuff. I didn't really read an audiobook this week, but if you want one, more Silly Putty and Napalm. I guess it's more Napalm and Silly Putty. I forget what it's called, but it's by George Carlin. I'll get back to the audiobooks next week. This week it was more, I kind of get in spurts where I do an audiobook, or I'll do like history podcast, or I'll do science podcast. So I listened to some Huberman this week. I got my science fix. And I listened to some Fall of Civilizations podcast. So we learned about ancient England, the Mayan Empire, how that collapsed. What else did I listen to? There was another one. About to look it up. Fall of Civilizations. Shout out to Fall of Civilizations. It's a great history podcast if you want to learn about old empires and civilizations that collapsed. Oh yeah, I listened to the Bronze Age collapse of the Mediterranean. There was some sort of like big volcano or some shit that wiped out like everything around the Mediterranean in 1100 BC. That's pretty deep into history. What's the next one? Oh yeah, I'm learning about the Greenland and the Vikings. I just started that one. What's up next? Ooh, the next one's about in Cambodia. I'm looking forward to that. Easter Island's up next. After that, ooh, there's one in Africa, in the Sahara Desert. I'm interested in that. Then we got the Sumerians, the Aztecs, the China's Han Dynasty, the Byzantium, the Inca, the Assyrians. Ooh, Assyrians is going to be a banger. Damn, there's like one in India, one in Jordan. I'm just getting so hyped. Carthage, Egypt. Ooh, got so much good history to listen to. I'm just getting stoked about another podcast on my podcast. All right, so back to fasting. I think fasting is good. I would recommend trying it. Maybe, I don't know, once a month or something. It's not that hard to not eat for like 16 hours. I usually do 18 or 20. I've done a couple 24-hour fasts, just a full day. But it's just hard for me to kind of structure my workouts around that because I want to work out kind of hard every day. And if I'm not eating for a full day, I'm not going to have the best workout. And some people work out fine while they're fasted. You're not going to work out in peak physical condition when you're in a starving state. Not that it's starving, it's intermittent fasting. It's not that bad. But I'm not going to have the best bag work. I've actually done bag work after fasting for 24 hours. And it wasn't bad, but I just felt like I didn't have like a high gear, like hit those high RPMs, fucking cranking power into the shots. It's kind of just like I could flow and hit hard, but it wasn't like I just didn't feel like I lost a little bit from not eating for a full day, you know. Makes sense. But that clarity feels good. Let my intestines reset and my organs. And I'm back up on my grind. Ready to get back to work. I only did comedy once this week on Thursday at Irish Red Pub. Crushed, murdered, as always. A little bit of old material, a little bit of new material. Mix it up, dish it out. The crowd was actually really tough. I didn't have a bad set, but I actually didn't like murder. The crowd was insanely quiet. Like when I walked in, the first comedian was up, and I was like, it sounds like this dude is doing spoken word. There's no reaction in the audience whatsoever. But we got some laughs. I got some laughs. I like going up in front of tough crowds because I'm like, all right, this is a challenge. I'm gonna have to work for this one. I have to stay in the pocket. It's like a challenge. I feel like this is a tough room. Let's see what we can do with it, you know? Don't let it break you. Stayed in the pocket the whole time, got some laughs. Looking cool as a cucumber. Cool on stage. Tried some new stuff. Just riffed in between them too. Had fun with it. I actually had a lot of fun with that set. Just like riffing in between jokes. Talking about Salvador Dali. But I'm ready to get back on the grind, you know, now that we're over a big hump of the audit, so I'm back up on my grind now. We're gonna hit it starts to hit comedy wise, it starts to heat up in April, especially mid-April, late April. We got some shows in May. Got May 2nd doing Hack and Forth again at a new spot in Montgomery. And then I'm on my first festival end of May in Biloxi, Mississippi. Oh yeah, I'm going to Biloxi next weekend. Also, I might try to do a set down there while I can. I need to hit up my buddy about that because I want to get a set in there somewhere. So I'm like, oh, I've done comedy in Biloxi before, and then I'll come back down in 2 months and do the festival. So I'm going down there with my brothers, Greg and Kevin. It was my brother Greg's birthday on Thursday, and we're celebrating it a week later. That's just we had to do it that way because of the audit. But now I'm back up on my grind, dude. I need to get back on my pen game. I got some new material, but I think we're also closing up on in like a little bit over a month. I will have been doing comedy for 2 years, so I'll be entering into year 3. And I feel like we're about to get over the wave. Not like that. I feel like a storm's coming, bro. This is actually the perfect metaphorical reference to what's going on right now. As I'm doing a podcast in a storm shelter with severe tornadoes expected tonight. But that's not the real storm. The real storm is coming. Year 3, Scott Walker Comedy. That's when we're about to heat up. There's a storm coming like nothing you've ever seen before. And not one of you is prepared for it. It's from the movie Take Shelter with Michael Shannon. I made a funny video. I'm going to post it on my story. I was going to use it as like an intro to this because it's about like the storms coming, the tornado, and there's like a funny breakdancing thing at the end. I'll throw it in my story when I share this podcast. But it is kind of funny. I also didn't know if I should post it because like I don't know, there might be some like bad things that happen from this tornado tonight, and it's kind of not. I should be joking around about it, you know. But hey, I'm a comedian. I'm a truth teller. This is a sacred art of saying what others wouldn't say. Being funny at times when I'm not supposed to. Like when my wife told me that one of her coworkers just left in an ambulance, and I was like, "Oh, why? Is it because he's gay? Is it because he found out he was gay?" And she said, "No, he actually had a stroke, and he's been in the ICU for a few days." Yeah, and I was like, "All right, well, I probably shouldn't have riffed on that." I knew when I said it too, because I know when the right time. You're not supposed to be funny in serious times, but usually during serious times, that's when I'm like, it would be kind of funny if I said this. I know it's not the right thing to say. It's like literally the not the time to be funny. But sometimes those are my favorite times to be funny. When it's naughty and bad. But nah, we're about to get back up on the grind for year 3, bro. We're heating up. We're gonna finish off year 2. Steaming right along. I feel like year 2 has been my development. Year 1, I was the opener. I was always opening. And people just knew me as the opener because I'd always be down to go first. I was crushing opening, setting off shows well, hitting the crowd in the mouth, first one up on stage, hit them with something nice, set the show off good. And then year 2 has really been my like development as like a feature, like doing longer sets and like being a feature for headliners. There's been a lot of shows recently where I've murdered, and I was the batting right before the headliner. So I'd murder the room and then introduce the fucking headliner coming up next. But yeah, I'm not gonna be. I don't like. I like featuring is the highest I kind of really want to go. Honestly, I think I shouldn't be headlining until I'm like 10 years into comedy. That's how I just kind of feel. But I think, I mean, I've headlined before, but I don't really consider it headlining because it was literally, I was still in my first year of comedy. So I did like close to half an hour. I don't know. I've done like a half an hour a couple times, but I prefer 10 to 15. But I'm cool with 10. I'll take 10 any day of the week. I feel like 15 would be. I'm getting to a point where now 15 would be like the ideal one. Because it gets to where the shorter the set is, you really have to pick and choose with what you're going to talk about. And it kind of sucks too when you have more time, you can tie things together. Oh shit! I just hit something in my storm shelter. When you get more time in sets, you can tie things together better. So like I can go from what the fuck was that? All right, maybe I was leaning too hard on something. But I feel like I can tie things together. When you have more time, you can you can transition from two very hilarious jokes on two different topics. Like I have a lot of jokes that are funny and they bridge topics perfectly. But it's like if I'm running low on time, I'm taking out jokes and transitions and stuff. And then if I'm just on a tight time constraint, it's like I can only tell a few jokes and I really can't spend a lot of time tying things together. So it's like I'm trying to give you very funny jokes, but they might not fit together perfectly. Just due to me only having less than 5 minutes or some shit. Like the Laughing Skull's 4 minutes. It's like you're not getting any transitions, dog. I'm gonna tell you a few jokes, and I'm gonna jump topics. Well, usually I'll say something. I'll take a pause. I think that's the best way to. If you're not gonna really transition well, just take a short pause, and then bring up the next bit. You know, give it time to breathe, so you don't just literally finish a punchline and then be like, you know what I was thinking about? It's just kind of weird to jump like that. Anyway, I'll give you guys a fucking tip, dude. Joke writing tip and life tip. If you're about to quit on something or an idea, or like give up on something you were thinking about, I always think about this with joke writing specifically, or if I have an idea that I think is funny. It's just why, and keep going. What do you mean? Where are you going with this? Keep going. Explain. Keep going. Is there something here? No. Where can you take it? Where is this going? Think. Why? What do you mean? Keep going. That's like what. But I'm just constantly trying to find like different paths in an idea to get a joke out of it. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense to you with what I'm trying to say. Because over a period of time, if you keep on like trying to break it down and push it further and ask yourself like why, what do you mean, explain, keep going, where is this going? Over a period of time of just like you're just butting heads with this idea, and it could take a while, but you might find something and you're like, oh, that's where I could take it, and I could fit in a joke here and here, and then it starts to work. And some jokes, it takes a long ass time. I like my drinking games joke, which is my most popular joke. I almost threw that joke away after a couple weeks because I felt like I wasn't going anywhere with it. It was kind of a filler bit where I was talking about. I had this old joke where I got my car towed one time after a comedy show because it had like the injector broke on it, and it's like a factory problem with that kind of F-350 of that year. And so after a comedy show, I'd had a couple drinks. Like I was kind of like a little tipsy, and my car just like my truck just died, and I'd like steer it off an exit of a highway like a mile, like an hour from my house. And I was like, fuck this. And then it like wouldn't work. It was dead. And then I ended up having to get it towed. And I had like another comedian in the car with me, my buddy James Young. And I had to get it towed an hour home. And just sitting in a tow truck, like sitting next to the tow truck driver, just like after like had a couple drinks, I was like, you know what, dude, if I was ever blackout and I wanted to sleep in my own bed that night and like not get a hotel, and I was like really far away from home. It's like too far to Uber. I was like, "Dude, I could just get a tow truck to tow me there." It's like an Uber that far probably would have been, like, at least $100. I don't know, an hour-long Uber, what that would be. And then I gotta Uber back or get a ride in the morning to go get my truck. So if I just got my truck towed, they would drop me off at home. It's like my truck's not even broken, I just drank too much and need a ride home and want my truck to come with me. I'll just get a tow truck, and they'll Uber me and my truck home, and I'll sleep in my own bed and have my truck in the morning. And then, so that was, like, the first bit I came up with after that experience, and then I was, like, talking about, like, I think drinking games are kinda stupid, you know? You wanna know what my favorite drinking game is? Driving home. And then they didn't really tie into each other, and I kinda liked the other joke more. And, I was like, I just don't know where I'm going with, I think that was the end of the joke. I was just like, I don't have anything else with that. Um, yeah, I was like, that's just my favorite game is driving home. And then I just sat on it for a while and kept on thinking about it, and I was like, "Well, what like, why?" And I was like, "'Cause I'm pretty good at it." And I was like, "Okay, that's something." I was like, "Oh, yeah, dude, I could say I'm the best at it." And that's kinda funny to brag about being really good at that. And I was like, I could say I'm like, yeah, I could say I'm like the best of all time. I'm like the Michael Jordan of it. And then as soon as I said that, I was like, "Oh my god." Until the day comes where I crash and die. I was like, I become the Kobe Bryant. And I remember where I was in my house when I, like, put that together, and, like, every now and then, this has only happened a few times, uh, where I've, like, thought of a really good joke that I really fucking like, and it's like, you know, like, when you get, like, a light bulb above your head in, like, a cartoon, like, you have an idea? It's like an atom bomb exploding above my head. I'm like, "Dude, I just put together a good joke. I fucking like that." And then I'm, like, stoked to try that at the next open mic or something. So that's my advice for being creative and thinking about ideas. And sometimes it'll take time, you know? If you just don't give up on something, or if you feel like it's not going anywhere, just save it in your archive and come back to it at another time. Like I might go through I brought back old jokes, uh, not recently, but a while back. I was like, "Oh yeah, I could do that." Like I have jokes in my archives where I'm like, "That's a good joke." Some people have told me like, "Oh, that's my favorite joke of yours." And it's like, I don't even tell that joke anymore. I was like, I could bring that back, dude. I could bring that back fresh. I've only told that not a lot. And then sometimes you have an idea that you just couldn't put together, and you come back in the future and just looking at it with fresh eyes, you have a new perspective on it. But the next level is just to keep going and push yourself to think and find possible paths. So ask yourself why. What do you mean by that? Explain. The main thing is where are you going with this? Where is this leading? You're trying to find you're trying to find an end goal. Once you have that end goal, you can put together the path better. That's the main part, is figuring out where the fuck you're going with this. You have an idea, you know it's funny, and sometimes that's the funniest thing is when you can take an idea, a premise that's hilarious and tie it to a punchline or like an ending thought that's like also fucking hilarious, but they're two very different things. So you like lead in with like a clever idea, and then it leads somewhere where you didn't know this was going, and then you hit them with a fucking crazy ass punchline that they didn't see coming. And you're like, damn, dude, I thought that premise was funny. He fucking led me in, hit me with a bunch of tags, and then crushed me with a nasty punchline. That's a perfect joke. Catchy, brilliant premise. Even the premise gets a giggle on some of them. It's like, I do think it's funny that porn videos have comment sections on them. That usually gets a good laugh. They hit him with a tag, 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 punchline. It's the best feeling. Yeah, I'm just dying in your arms tonight. Must have been something you said. Comedy's so much fucking fun, dude. There's no better feeling than hanging out with the comedy buddies, hitting shows, crushing. It's literally the most fun. Kind of weird because I didn't really have like a social life. I was just always working out and going to work, and that was about it. Now I have this social life. Like most people have more fun before their 30s. In the past, like I had a lot of fun when I was 28, 29, and now 30. It's becoming the most fun. Kind of more wild now than I was more wild when I was younger. But I wasn't like partying. Not that I'm really partying. I'm having a couple drinks at comedy shows. It's not serious. But that's something I didn't think I'd be doing a couple years ago. Shout out to Element Electrolytes, dude. They I was talking about them. I talk about them on almost every other podcast. I think I've talked on them like on 5 or 6 probably so far. And I just love their electrolytes, dude. And they keep me hydrated. I do like 1 or 2 a day. And I posted the podcast and I was like, brought to you by Element Electrolytes. Drink Element. And then I put in parentheses unofficially. Like I'm not really sponsored by them. Because it's like, the ongoing bit of me talking about getting sponsored by Element Electrolytes. And I told him that. I was like, hey, I have like this ongoing bit on my podcast where it's like, I say I'm basically sponsored by Element Electrolytes, but I'm just manifesting it into fruition. And so I always just like unofficially plug them like they're a sponsor. And then they hit me back on Instagram. It was like, manifesting that sponsorship one sip at a time. Keep spreading the Element love. We really appreciate you. And I was like, thank God. Because if Element didn't respond to my shout out and my story, I was literally going to be offended. I was like, dude, I'm going to start drinking Liquid IV. I'm jumping ships, dude. And I don't even like Liquid IV because their electrolyte mix isn't as good as Element. And they also have like B vitamins like B12 and stuff, which I mean, that's good for you, but I don't really want that because I like to drink electrolytes sometimes at night, and I want those B vitamins keeping me up. So I didn't really want to jump ships to another electrolyte brand. I like Element, okay? I just needed some recognition from them, and they shouted me out. So we're still cool, and we're working out a sponsorship deal in the future. Oh, my cat's behind me. That's what that was. I thought something fell behind. I also want to sponsor an MMA fighter or boxer as like this podcast is their sponsor and my comedy. So it'd be like TKO, Scott Walker Comedy on like a little logo on like their fight kit or their like poster that they bring into the ring with them. Their banner. It'd be so fucking funny to sponsor a fighter and just see like my Instagram handle and my podcast on their shorts and on their fight banner. So I thought about it, and then because what really made me think about this first was Paul Hughes, which is like he's one of the best featherweights in the world. He lost a decision to what's his name? Usman Nurmagomedov in PFL, Bellator PFL. And everyone thinks that Paul Hughes actually won that fight. He's like one of the best featherweights. Even Usman was like, dude, this motherfucker is the man. Like he earned the world's respect. He also beat AJ McKee right before that. I think that's what really put people on notice. But the Nurmagomedov was overlooking him. He even said that in the lead up to the fight. He's like, "You're overlooking me, and that's your mistake." And then Paul Hughes fucking took it to him. Paul Hughes is a fucking G. He's from Belfast, Ireland. So we put out something about sponsorships for his next fight. He's headlining a fight card for PFL in Belfast. That's gonna be a sick card. It's in May. And I was like, dude, I kind of want to sponsor Paul Hughes. So I hit him up. I contacted, he said, like, hit up this email address if you're interested in sponsoring. So I reached out. And they were like, yeah, we don't have room on, like, his fight kit, but we do have, like, sponsorship packages. You can check them out. And they sent me, like, a pitch deck on, like, all the information about him and, like, his advertising, like, how many views he has and followers he has. It's like a sales pitch on why you should sponsor him and, like, how much viewership he gets. And, but then he said, the email also said, like, our cheapest sponsorship is, like, $5,000. And I was like, all right, I'm out. I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't have started with, like, a world, like, the pinnacle top fighters in the world for, like, major organizations. Maybe that's out of my price range. But, that would have been sick to sponsor Paul Hughes. But, I wanna pick, like, a regional MMA fighter, like a local fighter from, like, either Auburn or Atlanta. Just a fighter I like. 'Cause I know there's local fighters looking for sponsorships. I could literally just reach out to somebody and just say, like, "Hey, if I gave you this logo and, like, a little bit of money, throw me on your fucking fight shorts and your fight banner." It'd be just so funny to be on somebody's fight banner for an MMA fight. It's, like, televised. Uh, so if you know any good it has to be a good fighter too. I have to fuck with their style. They have to be high level. I'm not sponsoring some fucking bum, okay? We're only sponsoring elite, badass fighters that I dig their style. So if you know any of those that are looking for sponsors that are way under $5,000, hit me up. We're gonna sponsor an amateur fighter or a professional. Or not an amateur. We're sponsoring a professional for sure. Someone that's working their way up to the UFC. I actually know a few. I might reach out. I sparred with a couple of pros that are on that path, and I might hit up. It's kind of weird to hit one up though. Like, hey, remember me? We sparred that one time. That was a really good sparring session. Hey, can I sponsor you? Hey, can I give you some money and you put my comedy logo and my podcast logo on your fight stuff? I'm doing it though. It's fucking awesome. Definitely doing it. All right, what else should I talk about? There's UFC on right now. I should go watch UFC. All right, maybe we'll wrap it up here. Hopefully I make it through the storm. Through the storm like Polo G. And drink Element. Shout out to Element Electrolytes. This podcast is brought to you by them. Does that mean they're sponsors? No. That means that I would be too dehydrated and I couldn't bring you this pod if I didn't have their electrolytes in my body. After how hard I worked out today, this podcast wouldn't happen without Element Electrolytes. So because of that, that means it's brought to you by their electrolytes, basically. I need their electrolytes for my bodily functions. And someday they're going to be a sponsor. And someday, soon, I'm going to sponsor an MMA fighter, and he's going to make it to the UFC. And then the TKO podcast and Scott Walker Comedy will be in the ring on fight shorts and a fight banner for a UFC fight on television. Mark my words, TKO. All right, y'all have a good night. I'm going to go survive this tornado like a total boss. Later.